And good morning and welcome to Touch Base Daily. My name is Ron Foster and I'm here with my buddy and pal, Chris Edwards.
Good morning,
And
sir.
we are here. It is Friday. It is already Friday. It seems like it was just yesterday and another week has gone by. And it is our Focus Friday special. Well, it's not special. We do it every Focus Friday. We focus on things that matter. That's the whole purpose of this whole Touch Base Daily anyway, is to
Yeah.
focus on conversations, politics, photography, anything that matters. We talk about it here. So it's Touch Base Daily, touching base and what's going on in the world and what's going on in our world. So I'll start with you, Chris. What's going on in your world? And then we're gonna do some hellos.
My usual stuff. It's Friday, so I'm taking care of some business. I got a client recording after this actually at 1 o'clock, so I need to jump off on time today. Other than
Okay.
that, it's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to you. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone out in the Touch Base Daily community. Um, we're going out to dinner tonight for Valentine's Day, but
Ooh,
that's about
nice
it.
romantic.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nothing
Nice.
special, nothing big. We've had some big monumental milestones in the last couple of months, so we're just taking it low key today.
Yeah, okay. You guys have been doing a lot. You've been
Yeah, yeah,
traveling, going places, doing things, partnering on your on YouTube together. It's
yeah,
been yeah, you guys are really doing some new stuff there, kiddo.
yeah. So
Well,
yeah, we're
let's
gonna
say
take it
hello.
low key tonight, and then just relax this weekend.
It's going to be a snowy weekend in the north.
Yeah, I think we might
Snow
end up having
changing to rain,
rain.
really, I should say.
Yeah, because
Snow
we
tomorrow for most of the day, then turn to ice, then turn to rain, and then a
yeah.
rainstorm, and then Sunday it clears out, and which is great because Sunday I'll be home getting ready for surgery, so there'll be no food eating. I'll be just moping around the house.
Preparing yourself.
Preparing Sunday is surgery preparation day. I just talked to the hospital. They called me, gave me the time, gave me the where to be, where to come into the door, where elevator to take. I had to give
It's a whole
Adrian's
process.
information. Adrian, you
It's a
have.
whole process.
They're like, who do we call? Something happens. I said, you have to call Mr. Adrian Florence. And so, and so we got that all squared away. So that way, also, if he needs to come in and be there. So much is happening. Also, on my mother's front, they called me yesterday to I have to get all this information. So I'm gonna get that done today and get. So they're gonna have to put her in rehab, most likely a rehabilitation center, and that's where she'll probably end up living for a bit. And but I have to get all the Medicaid information all done. So that is what my life looks like right now, is getting ready for surgery here and also taking care of my mother who's in the hospital right now. And but the doctor says she's getting better, so she looks better. And but she's still frail. She's still they asked me a lot of questions yesterday about if she went into a cardiac situation, do we resuscitate, had to ask all those questions, what do we do after, blah 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 blah. So they gave me 100 questions, well, not 100, but about 25 questions that I needed to
Close enough.
answer about her, because she's in this ward that's not a room, but it's in between ICU and a room. They call it P something. All you doctors, hospital people out there. So that's where she's been for the last 3 days. Yep. So that's it. My life is getting 2025 has taken off at an interesting time in my life. So it's been interesting. So anyway, let's say hello to some folks. I see some people in the building. Hannah is in the building. She says, "Good morning, Ron and Touch Base Daily family." And then speaking of the Adrian, we see Mr. Adrian's in the building. Sunny Boy is in the building. He says, "Happy Valentine's Day, chat." What's going on? Also, we have Lisa. She's in the building. She says, "Good morning." And we got the great and wonderful Brian Young Creative is back in the
What's
building.
up,
So good to
Brian?
see you. We
I
miss
haven't really seen much
Brian.
of him lately.
He's been on a hiatus. He's just been
Okay.
low key. He's been low
Okay.
key, but he's sending some love. He's sending some love. And then we got our wonderful Mr. Bryson Leach. He says, "What's up, Ron? What's up, Chris? What's up, RLP fam? What's up, CQ fam? Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Captain America Day. Everybody, hope
Yes.
you're getting ready for Captain America, Brave New World."
So it's not getting great reviews. Huh?
What's Chris? Say it
It's
again.
it's not getting great reviews.
No, it hasn't even. It's just starting today.
Yeah, but all the reviews prior to that, like leading up to this premiere, not good.
Really?
Yeah. I'm a little
Well,
disappointed.
I'm hopefully going to see it today. I hope to see
Okay.
it today. I needed. I said, you know what? Because I won't be able to leave the house for about 2 weeks. So I said, let me get this in now. And also, I just need something to get my brain off of everyday events and what's going on in my world. So I said, today I'm going to see Captain America. And so I'm just going to go right downtown, not too far from my house. And we have a great movie theater there. And I'm just going to enjoy the moment. Hopefully, anyone wants to join me, let me know. I'll tell you the exact time. And we can meet up at our wonderful City Point, right downtown Brooklyn. The Draft House Theaters. Okay, Lisa says, let's say we love the way Shellen Musson told Dump to STFU. Now, do y'all think he really said? Did the kids say that? I mean, people are still debating. Did the kids say it? Because I know there was some professional lip readers that said that he said this.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Let's not doubt that because he is 4 years old. Kids do not say that openly on their own. They don't even know what the context to say that. He was either told that or he's been around someone who says that. And the fact that his child basically said to him, "You're not the president. You need to leave." I mean, come on now. It does not take a genius to figure out where that came from.
You know, my dad used to tell us when we were growing up. I remember when I was like, I was probably at the time about maybe 17, 18 years old. And this kid was in my dad's office. Like I said, for those, I grew up with an adopted dad that adopted me into his family as a PK. And I became a PK because he adopted me into his family and I was his son. So anyway, and some folks were in the office, in his office, and this family came in and the kids were saying, they were tattletaling on their parents. They were saying all kinds of stuff. And so my dad said to the rest of the ministers that were in the room, and I just happened to be I always helped them after services. And he says, your children will tell on you every time.
That's the God's honest truth. And just like everyone else is saying in the chat, like it's true. Like he heard that somewhere else.
He heard it somewhere.
He didn't make that stuff up. Like why would he know to say that to him? Basically telling him he needs to get up and get out because
get out of the chair.
You're
First
not the president.
All, the opticals of that moment.
The optics, inappropriate.
Is so inappropriate of the presidency. Forget Trump. It's the presidency. I mean, you had this Elon Musk hovering over, giving up almost it was his little press conference, hovering over the supposedly president of the United States at his desk and was made to look like a chump. I'm going to have to say it.
4-year-old son is digging up his nose and wiping it on his desk. He's doing what a 4-year-old does. Listen, the optics of that, and let's look at the optics of when Obama wore a tan suit in the Oval Office. The Republicans lost all of their shit.
Yeah.
How inappropriate it is. It's beneath the office, but yet
because of the tan suit.
Who is not elected, who is basically, he is running the government and raiding the government.
It's embarrassing. It is disgusting. It is crazy. So, guys, we have a lot to go over. So we're gonna go through these really fast. There's some things we're gonna talk about. We're gonna bring our wonderful panel. Our, I don't know. They're co-hosts as well.
Yes,
so
they are.
We're gonna bring them onto the show. We have our wonderful Miss G.R. Houston. There
Come
she
on now,
is.
Miss
There
G.
she is.
Man, I didn't feel like moving my camera equipment because I'm still recording. So I was like, they're gonna get this desktop camera today. It's too much going on. I mean, it's just
you got a lot going on. You've been filming. You how many shows have you been filming?
I have to do 16 altogether. We are now doing the wine show, and so I'm not wasting my alcohol, so I gotta pace myself. Taking all these sips and what have you, but it's part of the job. What can I tell you?
And we have the wonderful Elise. She's in the building, back to the future. Back in the future.
Good morning.
Back to the past.
Back to the past. Sorry, my bad. Back to the past.
We wish we could get back to the present, the future.
Yeah, back to the past. It's getting real.
I don't know when we'll get there.
Ugh. So bad. Anyway, Gwendolyn said good morning this morning to everybody. And we have Kelly A's in the building. She says, good morning, everyone. And we got the wonderful, marvelous Jazzy.
Hold on, Brian just said he might be available. You might want to send
Brian. Okay. I'll put a pin in that. Elise says good morning to everyone, but now she said it also verbally. And I'll see it at 7 p.m. tonight. What would you see at 7 p.m. tonight? Oh, the movie. That's right. Here we go. Wait, where was my invite, Adrian? Where was my invite? I'm just saying. Anyway, they might just be hating on a brother, Captain America. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
There are some people pissed off because Captain America is black. Hello, there's some people freaking out. There were some people on was it not Twitter, on Facebook that were talking about how much they didn't, it's there's some people that are not happy about Captain America being black, just like when they had the star that was black in Star Wars. They lost their mind.
Well, even like the Little Mermaid.
And the Little Mermaid. Yes, they lost their minds. They lost their mind. The white Christian nationalists, white supremacists, the white bad people. The white bad people.
I'm not trying to get my blood boiling at 11 o'clock in the morning. It's too early.
I'm already there. My friend said, you're the only person who would choose violence on the day of love. I said, look, she's putting out stuff about, RFK Jr. and all this whatnot. And I was like, baby girl, this is not it.
What happened to
Susan Collins' phone number? I said, I'm just looking at all the women who are Republicans. I said, let's find all their numbers and call them all today, because now it's coming up for the horrible woman in the Department of Education who can't say whether or not they're going to outlaw teaching Black history, African American history. Look, I looked her up. I called her. I told the lady, I said, she is entirely too old to be afraid of anybody. And I said, what we need to do is concentrate on the fact that she's up for election in 2026. Yes. And we need to figure out how to get to Vermont and make sure that she loses.
She has no background in education, and she couldn't even say that she thinks she may think it's illegal to teach Black history. Like, the fact that you can actually parse your lips and move your tongue to make that statement. But you know what, though? It's all on par with what's going on. RFK being in charge of our health in this country.
Oh, this is crazy.
I think I have a worm now because of it. It's crazy. It's just
he sounds like a stall call.
That kid was so annoying. I was like, holy moly.
Yeah. Let's talk about that
because I remember I am definitely a unicorn. I always call Gwendolyn a unicorn. We in our conversations in our time that we chat. But I am a unicorn in this way. My parents took me to different places, and I'm sure there were other kids like myself, but we just did not act that way. We went to other people's house and was in someone's outside of our home. We were taught to be not just respectful, but like high end respect. If my mother would look at me, if I would even think of doing anything out of character, pick my nose or anything. No, I just sat there.
The fear of
my mother
God.
would give me my little book. I would have my little book because I was a little Poindexter kid, and I would just be looking at the color pictures.
Ron, listen, coming from a Caribbean house and being Black, it's called the fear of God put in you before you leave the house. Don't look at nothing. Don't touch nothing. You're not hungry because you ate here. Don't make me look bad.
Don't make me look bad.
Ron, is how you develop a look, right? I developed a look for any child in my life. And when I became a teacher, if I got quiet and started looking at the room, they say, "Oh, don't say a word. I don't know what we did. What do we do? Yep. How can we make this up?" All you have to do is look and they correct it. But we talk about what he said when he said, "Shut up." That little boy clearly said, "You're not the president. You need to leave." Listen to it. He clearly said, "You're not the president. You need to leave." And you sitting there looking stupid like that.
I mean, could we just like take a moment to just like let that settle in? We are truly living in the world of bizarro. We in our wildest dreams could not even make this up.
A 4-year-old had more courage, if you want to call it that, than Republicans that are working in Congress. Okay? Let that sink in.
Yeah.
And the 4-year-old shared what he has heard. This man is not the president. I'm running this. He's been in a space with his father where he's heard that. I want people to really focus on that. Him saying "shut up" the way he said it,
disrespect.
But telling this man, "You're not the president. You need to leave." That is what he hears. And when you saw that picture, clearly he was not the president.
And why is the news is not reporting any of this stuff? You're only getting this on like Rachel Maddow, Don Lemon, other places here and
there. The
main
media is not talking about it.
And social media, like on Blue Sky, it's all over Blue Sky, but like you're not getting anywhere else.
I'm gonna take you all back to what I've been saying for the last 5+ years. Who owns the media?
Corporations.
The billionaires.
They own it.
And the billionaire class. The billionaire class. They own the media.
And Rupert Murdoch has effectively gotten people who have previously worked with him in many of these the ones you see on TV, news agencies. CNN, he's effectively gotten people in place. So they kind of monitoring it. And you see how the people are leaving how those reporters are leaving.
Yeah. I mean, there's a grand exodus.
The man said he was leaving because he did the time slot they offered. He didn't agree with it. So he left.
What's his name? Acosta.
Yeah. I mean, between that and the fact that they're basically telling them not to say anything negative that will reflect bad on the network, he was just like, "I'm not doing that. I'm going to report the news."
Right.
He says, "Do not bow down.
I'm
Do
so
not
proud.
bow down." I was like, yes.
Reporters and people in journalism like him. That's what journalism is. This is why people aren't watching anymore, and this is why these news networks are getting sold off now.
Okay, so now there's something I want to talk about. There's a bunch of stuff I want to hear. I want you to just bring to your attention. So we're going to spit them out pretty fast. We'll talk about them and then spit out the next one, talk about it, and then spit it out. So this one I was going to share with you guys the other day, but we got so carried away, but in a good way. But this, I talked to Chris about it, and I had to find the video and everything on this subject. And I don't know if do any of you know? I'm just going to ask the people in the community chat if you heard of Anonymous. Have you heard of the organization, the stealth group Anonymous? Have you heard of Anonymous? Anyone? No one? Chris heard about it because I mentioned it, but briefly. Jazzy says,
I've
yes,
only
I
heard about
have.
it briefly. I don't know what it is. I never took the opportunity to find out exactly what they were doing.
Well, here I'm gonna share with you, because the world is, Adrian says, I know them. The world is not going to sit back and let Trump do what they're doing. I mean, the resistance is real, and the revolution is real, and it's not just America that's in this fight. The rest of the world is watching. No one knows exactly where Anonymous is located. They have no home base, but they do live in cyber. They live in the cyber world. Okay, so this was their warning. This is the gentleman. He's going to talk about it. Secular Talk on YouTube, which was really good. I was looking for this for Chris when I brought it up to him. Well, here we are. We'll look at it together. And here we go.
To be a dire warning to MAGA about what the future holds. You know, Anonymous is this group of, I guess you call them like ethical hackers, right? And it looks like they are not playing around with J.D. Vance and Donald Trump and Elon Musk. So let's listen and then we'll react.
Greetings, citizens of the United States. The effects of Donald Trump's presidency are no longer distant warnings. They are here, unfolding before you. While many remain unaware, blinded by the administration's relentless efforts to suppress the truth, the rest of the world is watching, and it is responding. Long-standing alliances with key nations such as Canada and Mexico are fracturing inch by inch. The cracks are widening, and the global community is reassessing its trust in the United States. The question is no longer if, but when these relationships will collapse entirely. The consequences will be severe. Every imported product you rely on, everyday essentials, food, technology, will see skyrocketing prices, making even basic necessities unattainable for the average American. What you perceive as a simple rise in costs is, in reality, a calculated strategy. The plan? To systematically dismantle the lower class, to push those already struggling into the abyss of poverty where they will face an impossible choice. Perish or submit to servitude under the wealthy elite. Make no mistake, this is economic warfare, and the target is you. The recent ICE raids are not just about immigration enforcement, they are about control. The Trump administration seeks to reignite the flames of racial inequality and segregation-era policies, erasing diversity to craft a nation built on division and fear. These operations are disrupting local economies, forcing businesses to crumble, and ensuring the economic elimination of the working class. What follows is a society engineered to serve the interests of the few at the cost of the many. And as the oligarchy takes shape, another darker ideology is creeping into the mainstream. Fascist ideals, once whispered in the shadows, are now being openly embraced. Symbolism matters. Gestures matter. Elon Musk, a figure of immense influence, recently tested the waters with a gesture recognized worldwide as a Nazi salute. This was not an accident. It was a message, a challenge, a warning. But know this, the people are not silent. Despite the administration's best efforts to muzzle dissent, the voices of resistance grow louder. Trump's reckless overhauls, his purges of experienced government officials, his chaotic restructuring of critical infrastructure, have created vulnerabilities, weaknesses, entry points. This transition period is his greatest liability, but it is also our greatest opportunity. The rushed implementation of new systems, the mass firings of key personnel, and the chaotic dismantling of existing structures have left behind critical gaps that Anonymous can and will exploit. Every system that has been hastily restructured without foresight, every official removed without proper transition planning, leaves behind exposed veins within the government's framework. These vulnerabilities are more than just bureaucratic inefficiencies. They are cracks in the foundation that can and will be breached. Anonymous watches. Anonymous waits. The time to act is fast approaching. The administration's arrogance blinds them to the fragility of their own system. Their overconfidence in their ability to silence dissent and erase opposition will be their undoing. We know where to look. We know how to strike. Understand this. Our intervention, no matter how disruptive, will only be a temporary roadblock unless you, the people, rise. This is your warning. This is your chance. The transition period is fleeting, and once they solidify their grip, your options will vanish. If you fail to act now, the cost of resistance will be far greater in the future. To those in power, think carefully. Your decisions now will determine your future. We are Anonymous. We are Legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
Damn, bro.
Damn. I was
like,
this is, when I sat there, I mean, we can go on. We'll look at more of his analysis on it. But these folks are real, and people forget that when Trump was in office before, they made their presence known. And so we are not in this fight alone as Americans. This is global. And these cyber hackers, how they do their work, and they've proven that they are good at what they do, is a warning. But they're also sharing that it's up to us to also be the champions of making this change, because it's up to the Americans to really get out there and push against this wave. And then if we don't, then they have to go. They may have to come in and do what they do best. What do you guys think? Have you guys? I mean, this is.
I've seen the video.
You saw the video, Elise?
Yeah, I saw the video, and then while you were talking, I quickly looked up. They've been in existence since 2003.
Yes, they've been around for a
but
while.
I've seen the videos, and I mean, they're absolutely right. And you have to look at all of the different layers of what's going on. You know, it's like recently learning that the founders of PayPal are all South Africans, and they include Elon Musk. And the fact that Elon Musk is over financial systems, where he's now looking at creating his own platform similar to that.
Yes.
So you pay through that. I said, so I will not be going through PayPal.
So
tell anyone who wants me to pay for something, please. And I had stopped a while ago, though.
Let me elaborate on that. So, you know, PayPal's been in existence for a while, and I've heard that, and I stopped using PayPal about 2 years ago, I think. And I if you're going to do bank transactions with me, it needs to be through Zelle, where it has a direct bank-to-bank connection. But also, you know, this will kind of lead into the other discussion, Ron, about the CFPB, which is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
We're going to talk about
the reason why Elon Musk went in and dismantled that is because he wants to have Twitter as a payment system. And if he wants to do that, that agency is what oversees it. So what he's trying to do is dismantle any type of governmental oversight that looking to any of his companies. You know, this is why the head of the FAA resigned, because they were looking into SpaceX and, you know, basically trying to shut him down. So anything that has to do with governmental agency oversight, Elon Musk shut it down because it has something to do with his business.
Right.
This has nothing to do with spending. This all has to do about him and him having free reign with what he wants to do with his businesses and acquiring as much money and power as he possibly can.
Absolutely.
That's what it's all about. And there is, and we're gonna look at a video later. This is Elon. Every agency that he's gone after, like Chris just said, has him on a chopping block. They've been investigating him. So this is no coincidence. It's all about these these government agencies that are tracking what he's doing. And putting a halt on some of his criminal, let's say, accused of criminal activities with his businesses. And
this is not just a United States problem. You know, other countries have banned him from even stepping foot in their countries. They've got warrants out for him.
Yes.
So, I mean, think about it. How can one man have so much power globally?
What? He's the richest man in the world.
But
he's a dangerous man.
But remember, he said that one of the reasons he was put all his investment in Trump was because he said if Kamala Harris got elected, he would be arrested.
Yes.
Because he knew all of these investigations were coming in, and all of those inspector generals, all of them were investigating stuff that had to do with him. Every agency that he's trying to disassemble has to do with him. Every one of them. If you go back and look at it, I saw Lisa ask, what did we say about PayPal? I stopped dealing with PayPal even when people put it up there, because after I found out Peter Tillerson was one of the people. That's the first person I found out. And then recently finding out that they're all four of the founders, the co-founders of PayPal are all South Africans, and Elon Musk is one of them. So that's the stuff you need to know. So if you send me something and you want me to pay through it by PayPal, I probably won't buy it. You're going to have to figure out a different way, because I'm not using PayPal. I stopped using PayPal a year ago.
And it's Peter Thiel who's responsible for J.D. Vance becoming senator.
Yes.
He paid and ushered in J.D. Vance.
all connected, people.
Yes,
You have to
these
pay
are
attention.
all
All
connected.
connected.
Yes, and this is all is interesting. You're doing what's appearing, and people are sharing online is and I'm in agreement with the coup. This is a slow moving coup, and is you got these three dudes that are from South Africa that are really engineering the coup in their association and backing and connecting of the Federalist Society and the Heritage Society. So, and obviously we know also Project 2025.
Yep.
They have a lot of the financing. A lot of people are behind this. JD Vance also wrote parts of wrote the introduction of the forward of Project 2025. All of these people have had their hands in some way through someone in connection to Project 2025.
Well,
that's being implemented right now.
The other thing with that, with the whole South African connection too, is the fact that they cut the USAID aid to that country because of the fact that there was talk about how we need to the white land of Africans were stolen. It needs to be given back to them, and because of that, we're going to cut aid and doing all these other things. So you have to really pay attention. This
it's global. It's global. It's global. And I mentioned last week or early in the week about the connection to I put on my LinkedIn. I got some good responses, and one of my friends was like, but people are pissed. Trump is pissed off with the president of South Africa, and because he's like, I'm not dealing with your crap. You know what? You just mind your business, because what they're doing is proper and right. Again, I mentioned earlier about reconciliation. They have a reconciliation day. They have a reconciliation court. They have reconciliation policies that were all created under Nelson Mandela when he was president. This is a way of reconciling for the people that were wronged, Black folks that got their land stolen from the apartheid, people that during apartheid. Now under reconciliation, have to give those lands back, one family at a time. And so this is why Trump is upset, saying white people are being persecuted in South Africa. It is not that they're being persecuted, because not only that, there are white South Africans that are in agreement with it. So it's not just Black Africans in South Africa, it's white and Black South Africans that are on the same page when it comes to those that were the pursuers of apartheid and stole property in the process. And so now these folks of Black families are getting their lands back, getting their homes back, getting the things that they had before apartheid back. And so Elon is upset because he stands with the Afrikaans with the K in it in South Africa. So there's the Afrikaans with the K in it that you have to look that up. But you need to, folks in America don't have a clue what's going on in South Africa. But when you had the privilege to live there for a little bit of time, even though I only was there for 3 months, I learned a lot in living in South Africa for 3 months. And I will tell you, there are Black people and white people in South Africa that have forged their government in such a way to protect it because they saw some of the flaws in the American government. Like in their Supreme Court is not for life. No. They said, because of America, we realize we do not want Supreme Court justices for life. So we have rotational so that we can continue to get young blood into the circuit. So that way the young judges will always be current with the people. So people need to, I tell people it's so important to get out of your American bubble and get out and see the rest of the world and understand the policies that are going. And in this whole course that we see Trump acting up and acting crazy, There's a reason why, and this is again the white supremacist movement that is moving through the world. Is not just in America. They're trying to do it in Germany. They're trying to do it in France. They're trying to do it in Venezuela. They're trying to do it all around the world. So we need to be vigilant in our understanding of what's going on, so that way we could be aware. Did I split up properly? Elise, anybody?
Look, I agree with you. I mean, my husband was just sharing me where JD Vance is out there telling people in other countries about their immigration policies. I was like, he's a joke. Wow, you know, he's not even being used in this country for anything worthwhile. Those people don't want to hear from him, and we do have to be vigilant. We do. And that was the biggest mistake. I've always said the biggest mistake is you don't have term limits in the Congress. You have lifetime appointments on these federal courts. No one should have a lifetime appointment.
No one should have lifetime.
Nope. And if presidents had to have two terms, then everybody should have had no more than 2 terms.
Like
that really made sense. This other stuff, you know, that's why you have people 90 years old sitting up there making decisions that don't have a clue. And so easily manipulated and acting like they're afraid of things. We do need to pay a lot of attention to what's going on around the world. And yes, you know, South Africa and other places learning something from our things. You know, we got to remember that the bad things that happened in Nazi Germany happened because they learned some things about how the white people over here, the enslavers over here, treated our ancestors.
That's right.
That's how they got some of the ideas that they got. So they're always learning. And we need to, and it's always like these statistics they want you to think. They want you to think these horrible things. And how dare that the clown that's supposed to be in charge of this country come on and say how someone is being their rights, talking about some other people's rights, the minority rights, when you, sir, endorse suppressing our rights. How dare you?
Yes.
The audacity or the caucasity.
Wow. Okay, so I see that I there are some folks that the only reason why I haven't brought anyone else in the conversation besides the 4 of us is because I want to get to the next ones really quick. Okay. So that's the only reason why. But I see Jazzy. You know what? Jazz. I also, but you can. Let me also say there is the QR code on the screen and you can scan it. It is set for today, so we will bring you in. Okay. Gwendolyn, you have something to say?
You know, it's a coup. We know it's about the money. Here's my only thing. I believe it's great to have these conversations. It's necessary. What also needs to happen though is everybody needs to say something.
Yes.
From what I'm seeing, there are still people who are like, I don't see that. That's not happening. Or I see it happening. And then what? This is that time to get off the sideline. It's great to have the conversation. The next part is actually taking action. Right. And that's where we fall short.
Right. Absolutely.
We fall short. Yeah. We're going to have to get uncomfortable very soon.
Very good. Because we're all going to be uncomfortable.
Going down with this.
When it all gets implemented, it's too late at that point. There's nothing you can do about it. I mean, I have to say, you know, I've been seeing a lot more people protesting. There's, 50 protests in 50 states. They're doing it again. There's going to be the national boycott of commerce on the 28th, where they want no one to go into any store, any restaurant. Do not buy anything, gas, food, clothes, nothing. Show them that the American people have power. And American people economic buying power.
Yes. And we can stop the billionaire.
And that's definitely where it starts. And it definitely, as Gwendolyn says, you have to be willing to sacrifice and be uncomfortable. I have those conversations in my own house. Yeah. Like my husband, well, Walmart has the cheapest cereal. I said, so you're not willing to sacrifice. And this is my house. I'm that way with my family. If you're not willing to sacrifice, then I'm gonna have to keep reminding you. I'm gonna have to keep making you uncomfortable. And we come back to that same conversation that a lot of people like to have. Well, the people that work there, I get that. But guess what? And so I had to remind him. And my husband, I told you, my husband is a history major. But he majored. It was at Cleveland State University, majoring in history. And you get there, and he didn't know that there were black bus drivers during the bus boycott.
Yeah.
They were black bus drivers, and they were like, okay, so don't get on these buses. I'll ride this empty bus. It doesn't matter. We have to, they supported what was happening.
Yeah.
And so we have to decide how are we going to, because they will count on us saying, oh man, no, we're not going to do that. We can't do that. No, if we don't do it, what do we have? Where are we going to be? And it's like Adrian, who comes on here sometimes, we laugh and talk because, you know, me and my Octavia Butler books, you're going to be picking your camp assignments.
Yeah.
And how tight do you want that collar to fit around your neck that they're going to use to control you? Yeah. So we have to decide what we're going to do, and we have to be unified in it, and we can't keep making excuses. We can't.
We got to fight.
Put the butt in there. But no, it's either you do or you don't.
You do or you don't.
You either sit on you either piss or get off the pot.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and listen, it's not easy, but it's necessary. It's not easy.
Well, here's the next one. This one we've already brought about. You heard Elise talk about this over and over again. It's a little lengthy, but it is important because we are going back. Whether we like it or not, we need to go back to what our ancestors did, and we need to make sure we are learning from the past of what our ancestors did when they were in Jim Crow, before the Civil Rights Movement Act was signed into place, executive order and bills and all those other items. We need to be aware of how to deal with the new world we are living in. So Tabitha Speaks Politics did this, and I think it will help you. There were some conflictings on some of this, but the point is where it's about. So let's go there. Hold on a second. And here we go. I'm going to press play. And
2025 out of the U.S., you need to know 3 huge changes that are changing everything. It's a first, or you won't be able to go anywhere. Number 1, if you're trying to fly domestically in the U.S., 7th, 2025, you're going to need a real ID. You apply at your local DMV and get it done now before they get slammed. Number 2, if you're planning to travel from the US to the UK, which is Northern Ireland, England, Wales, Scotland, you're going to need for the first time a travel waiver. And that means you're going to have to apply. It's $13. It lasts for 2 years. But even if you're going for a day, you need to have the waiver. And there is another group of European countries, 30 of them, like France, Germany, Italy. They're requiring their own waiver. It's $7. It lasts 3 years. These are attached to your passport. Make sure your passport doesn't expire, because when your passport expires, these waivers expires and you have to start over.
Black people, get your affairs in order.
She's so funny with the. Here, go ahead.
Yes, a lot of us are holding other marginalized communities accountable for how they voted and for how they treat Black people in the Black community. While you're holding others accountable, make sure that your affairs are in order. Make sure that you have a certified copy of your birth certificate. If you have your original birth certificate, I know we don't like to walk around with our original documents. Make a copy of that birth certificate. Go to a notary public and have her certify/notarize that copy of your birth certificate. That makes that copy a certified copy of your birth certificate. When she's notarizing that copy, make sure she includes a statement that says, I'm a notary. And on all the documents, especially if they're copies of original documents, I include a statement that says, I, Tabitha, Notary Public, certify that this is a copy of the original document that is in the possession of whoever the birth certificate belongs to. If you are not carrying around your original Social Security card, do the same for your Social Security card. Make a copy of it, take it to a notary, and have her certify that copy, notarize it. If you have a passport, you can use your passport in place of that birth certificate. Reason being, in order to get that passport, you have to provide a copy, a certified copy of your birth certificate. So you can use your passport in place of a birth certificate. If you are using a copy of your passport, have that copy certified. I've talked about this in a few other videos since the election, and I've had people getting down in my comments telling me that I'm overreacting. I'm not overreacting. I'm preparing Black people. Last year, I did a video talking about laws that were passed in Texas, in Georgia, and in Florida. That law was basically, the essence of that law is that police officers in those states can legally stop you under suspicion that you are an illegal immigrant. And in that instance, you want to make sure that you have proof that you are a citizen. So it is my suggestion, just like you carry your driver's license with you everywhere you go, you want to carry proof of citizenship now everywhere you go. And your proof of citizenship is a passport or birth certificate. That driver's license is not proof of citizenship. It is a valid government ID, a valid government picture ID, but it is not proof of citizenship. In her video, she talked about needing a real ID. Everybody nationwide, adults, will need to have a real ID. And the deadline is May 7th, I think she said. I didn't know what a real ID was, so I had to go out and look it up. So to get more information on a real ID, I suggest you go over to Google, put in your state and the term real ID, and your state's website for real ID requirements should come up. This is the Georgia Department of Driver Services, and they have information on what a real ID is and how to obtain it. Basically, a real ID is a driver's license that has a black star or a gold star, and it's in one of the corners of the driver's license, right? And it's for those of you in Georgia, it just confirms that this is a real ID, and it has all of these new mechanisms on the ID, barcodes, holographs and things like that. So yeah, I looked at mine and it has a gold star up in one of the corners. So make sure that your driver's license is considered a real ID. Listen, Black people, the government has been attacking us for decades, for centuries, for 400 years. And the way we have been able to maneuver and make it through all of these years is because of how we share and spread information. Okay, so currently the Latino community is going through it. I just learned that Donald Trump does plan to reinstitute the Muslim ban, and there's additional information now included with that Muslim ban that's going to attack and harm the Arab community, the Muslim community here in the United States, right? And once they're all done, we're going to be watching to see what they're going to do with the 14th Amendment, which comes after us. So make sure while all of this is going on that you have your papers. Yes, we are back in that time period. Make sure you have your paper.
So there you have it, y'all. That
So
was,
Ron,
I mean, go ahead, Chris.
I want to elaborate because she said some really important information.
She said a lot of good stuff.
That two things: the passport, important, and then also people don't know. You can also get a passport card that you can travel within the United States with. Internationally, you need that passport book, but within the United States, and even when you go out, you can still use the passport card. But that's also important to have. It's relatively inexpensive. I think it's like $20-something. Maybe I could be wrong. I need to look into getting it myself, and then also go to your local government state website as far as the Real ID, because when I switched over from New York to Delaware, all they were issuing were Real IDs. And when I went there, I had to go to DMV 3 separate times that same day because they needed my birth certificate. They needed proof of where I lived. Now, even that becomes a problem because for the state of Delaware, they require like some type of bill that you have for where you live to show proof. And it had to be within the last 3 months. Because all my stuff is paperless, I had to actually go on one of my utilities websites and download a previous bill within the last 3 months to bring it into them to show proof. So you have to bring all 3 of those things. You can't even, it's not even a matter of showing them the old license from the current license you have. You have to bring that, either a passport or a birth certificate, plus the proof that you lived where you lived to get it. And it has to be within the last 3 months. So they're not playing. And we've been knowing about this Real ID for the last 3 years. The only reason why it wasn't implemented was because of COVID. They kept pushing it back because people weren't getting out. So the deadline, I believe, is May 7th. Get it done, because if you go to the airport
May 7th.
After May 7th, you won't be able to get on a plane if you don't have that ID or a passport.
Right.
And a lot of people, has gone over their heads, and they are going to be and they'll probably start doing advertisements probably next month or maybe in April, like a month like leading into it. Maybe, but I don't know. The Trump administration is not that kind of administration, so they don't care. So you people are going to be saying, I want to go to visit my grandma. They're going to be like, oh, can't get on the plane. Can't get on the plane.
And those are the things that you need.
So in the chat.
Yeah, if
hold
you
on
have,
a second. I saw, hold on, ladies. On the chat, I saw about the passports. Now, myself, because I have learned from my European friends, my friends who live in, and also my friends who live in Africa, whenever they travel, they have their passports. I travel with my passport everywhere I go, even when I'm traveling into domestically. Reason why is, as I've seen the world become more dangerous, I want to have my passport on me at all times, because what is something, as you popped off, as people say, while I'm on vacation, while I'm visiting friends, and I need to get out of the country. I cannot go until I get my passport. So if you are away, especially if you're away from home, and a copy is not going to do in another country. Yeah. So if you are traveling and you are just, even like going to visit grandma, you're going to visit your sister in Kentucky or going to California, my belief, this is what I do. I carry my passport every time I leave home. Not as, I'm working on definitely getting the paperwork for like, and get it with the notary and everything. That was good information. But while I'm here in New York City and roaming around, because this is where we are, we gotta be proactive. Okay, Elise, go ahead.
I just want to say a couple of things. So, as you know, a great deal of Black people do not have passports.
Yes.
And they need to understand that after May 7th, you will not be able to travel domestically unless you have a passport or a real government ID. You won't be able to travel. The other part is, the SAFE Act has moved up to the Senate. Mm-hmm. That's a part of what's in the SAFE Act. The SAFE Act is about voting rights. So those same documents will have to be used for your voter registration as well. And so as a married woman, I started saying, now what I'm going to do? Geez, my documents all have Star Wars on it, right? So I was like, well, the options are to make sure that I have my passport updated, to make sure that then, like, if your passport is about to run out, go on and renew that. Go on and renew it now. That's and it definitely looks different. Your passport page now looks, the one with your picture on it looks like almost like a real ID. My granddaughter just got her new one. And it's totally different than the page. If you've had you have your old passport, the page looked totally different. So, and I was like, because the other alternative as a married woman, if I did not have that, I would have to then take my married name off, have my name legally changed back to my maiden name, because that's the only name on my birth certificate.
Yeah. Because
I'm not going to go through, because even if people say, oh, you could change your birth certificate, but I can't change my parents' names. So right. I couldn't go and say all of a sudden I became a Stallworth at birth. I didn't. So you'd have to go back and change your name, or you just have to make sure you have your real IDs, or you have to make sure you have your passport. And for me, that would be the thing. It's like for a married woman now, if that act passes, we have to make sure we have our passport, because then they're not going to make us prove who we are based on what our birth certificate says from birth. But as far as the Black community, she's absolutely right. We need to make sure that the Black community is well informed. And that's why I've been asking everyone I talk to and telling my children to ask their friends, do they have a real ID? Do they have a passport? Do they have those documentations in place? Because it's going to come a time when that's what they're going to need, and they won't be able to travel without those things after May 7th.
And then how hard will it be to get it now that Trump is in the Trump administration? So Jazzy's in the building. What's going on, Jazzy? You had something to say. What's going on, Jazzy?
Hey.
Thank you for coming on board. What's going on, Jazzy Jazz?
Well, one, with the real ID, I'm going to be real with you. If you live in the state of Maryland and you do not know about the real ID, you have no excuse, because the real ID has been pushed to us since 2019. They were supposed to implement it in 2020, and they pushed it because of COVID. But if you don't have your real ID in the state of Maryland, you have no excuse, because they literally have been pumping this to your email. If you have a driver's license, you got the email.
Here in Delaware.
No excuse not to have an appointment or your real ID. But what I was going to speak to was what y'all was speaking about a little earlier, which was that, for me, I just think sometimes we talk about a lot of the stuff that the country is doing, and I see this small uprising of people kind of gathering together and kind of coming together and saying like, hey, this is not right. The Congress switchboard usually gets 40 calls a minute. They got 1,600 calls a minute, and they were crashing their switchboard. So I don't think that American people are not going to wake up. I think they're going to wake up too late. And I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and something that boggled my mind, because during the election, there was all this pushback of Joe Biden's old, this is going on. There was all this like pushback on not seeing the fuller picture. And now it's kind of like, oh, this isn't really going to happen, or the Congress needs to do something. And I'm like, we were the people that were supposed to put them in a position to do something, right? So I think right now, my main focus is how do we get people to change their mentality so that they understand the severity of what's going on in this moment? Because I'm not saying that boycotts aren't good. I'm not saying that. But I think the reason why I've been kind of like not questioning the boycotts, but more so like making us think about how we're going about them, is because of the fact that we're saying, okay, boycott. PBS dismantled their DEI program. A lot of people don't understand why they did it. The reason why they did it is because they have to federally comply with the government. If they do not, they lose their funding. Right? Everybody's shouting boycott. And this is why I said we have to understand what we're saying and what we're trying to get to with the boycott, and not just say to boycott something, because PBS literally cannot continue with their DEI program. So I just think that, like, strategy-wise, mentality-wise, we have to, if we're going to be on these platforms and we're going to speak to certain issues, we have to be able to speak to them in a way that we galvanize people to understand that some of the stuff that we're saying has to be communicated in a strategic way. Even if we don't want to televise what our strategy is, we have to communicate it in a way where the mass can understand what we're trying to get to. If the aim is to shut down Target, fine, let's shut down Target. If the aim is not to shut down Target and to get Target to get their DEI program back, we need to say that on a louder basis. If like, who was it? Roland Martin this morning said 18 to 40-year-olds need to be more active. We can't say that we're tired. And I saw that and I was like, yeah, but if we're being real, 18 to 65-year-olds, we're all in the same boat, right? We all have had this kind of like, I don't want to say easy way of life, but I think we've kind of gotten complacent because of the way that we have not had to deal with certain things that our parents have had to deal with. I was talking to my mother yesterday. She worked in the government. I can't say what agency she worked for, but she worked in the government. And my mom was, she was here in 1968 when Martin Luther King got killed. And the agency she worked for is a predominantly white agency. And she's Black, my mother's light skinned, and she had to deal with certain things. I think we don't understand the ways in which our ancestors, meaning like my mother, right? My mother's 78. The things that they had to deal with, I think we kind of like simplify them. And we need to stop talking like that. They went through a lot. All of them did. And it's up to us to continue to speak on it, but stop diminishing like the strategies it took for them to get there. That's all I want to say. Sorry, I know that was like long-winded.
No, that's good. You shared your thoughts. You shared what was going. We're gonna go to the next one real quick because the time is. We're gonna get this in our time schedule. The CFPD, and this is so important. And this is from CBS. So I'm gonna get that up for you. Chris, you said it sounded like you had something to say there, buddy.
No. I totally agree with what Jazzy was saying because it's so important. Like this generation had not had to really fight for rights and for what we have. You know, we rely on our ancestors and what they had to do to get it to where we are. And now you're faced with this, and all this generation knows is TikTok. They're ready to fight for that, but they won't fight for their financial and human rights.
Yeah.
Right.
Here we go. This is something very important, and we'll close with this because this is so important. You need to be thinking about this. They're not totally dismantled yet, but it is something that is very, very, very important. Here we go. And this is from CBS News, the Daily Report. And here we go.
Employees with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, or CFPB, were reportedly fired on Tuesday night as part of the Trump administration's efforts to shut down the agency. That's according to Reuters. Over the past few days, the Bureau's headquarters was closed and employees have been ordered to stop working. We wanted to take a look at what this organization does and why the administration seems to have issues with it. Based on an idea by Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren in Massachusetts when she was a Harvard law professor, Congress created the agency to protect consumers from some of the exploitations that happened during the 2008 financial crisis. It is an independent bureau with the Federal Reserve that has jurisdiction over banks, debt collectors, and other financial servicers. It enforces consumer protection laws and makes rules and issues guidance for financial institutions. It also releases reports on the financial sector and advocates for reforms. Consumers can complain directly to the agency, which can help them get answers and start formal investigations led by the CFPB into any concerns raised. The CFPB says it has clawed back or won more than $21 billion for Americans from different financial firms since its founding. Some of its most significant victories include winning $663 million in loan cancellations from the for-profit Corinthian College for defrauding students. And in 2022, Wells Fargo was required to pay $3.7 billion for widespread fraud and abuse allegations involving auto loans, mortgages, and deposit accounts. Many Wall Street institutions and some Republican lawmakers, including the president, have complained for years that the CFPB overreaches its authority when it comes to enforcement and regulation actions, for example, introducing industry-wide overdraft regulations. As recently as Sunday, Republican Senator Bill Hagerty of Tennessee called it a rogue agency on CBS News' Face the Nation. The National Treasury Employees Union, which represents CFPB employees, has filed a lawsuit over the Trump administration's order for the agency to stop all work.
So
dozens
there you
of
have
employees
that.
with the Consumer Financial Protection.
So this is so important with the this agency protects us in so many ways, and people don't realize how important it was after the 2008 crash and the protections that were put in about credit cards, how the interest rates on your credit cards, how fast you're able to move those interest rates, different protections for when different companies are doing bad things. So now they want to get rid of this. So again, this is another agency that has also been looking at the Elon Musk business practices. So again, a lot of these agencies that are being dismantled also look no further than Elon Musk.
Absolutely. Because they would be the one that would oversee if he was able to make X a financial platform over there. They would be the ones looking into that, right? This is the same people that Kamala Harris was able to get that money back for those people in California because of those loan frauds, all that stuff the money she was able to get. You have that kind of protection, right? I mean, they're looking at so much stuff when it comes to our money. And everyone goes back to Elon Musk, of course. And I know I see Lisa ask about Congress. Congress right now, Congress is totally compromised because who's heading it? You got to remember that it's controlled totally by Republicans. And they're right now are going to, and they're all being controlled by the puppet master Musk. All of them are being controlled by one man.
And before you go on, Chris, even if Congress was Democrat, Congress does not have an army, and Congress does not have a police department, right? To enforce. What they do is they have to send that enforcement over to the marshals, and the marshals are under the executive branch. So the executive branch will put a halt to it. So we are in a constitutional crisis. But again, the right now the Congress is controlled by the Republicans, so they have no desire to stop what's going on because they are in it. They are part of it.
Yeah, and just to add on to what Elise was saying, Elon Musk wants to turn Twitter into a financial institution where it can have financial transactions. But if you get rid of the CFPB, then there's no one doing any oversight. Now, here's the thing. This man will have total control of your bank accounts and all of your transactions. And this is what he wants. If you don't think that this man is going to start scheming and taking your money, it's actually happening. And I don't know if there's been some reporting, like I know Rachel Maddow has reported that some people are seeing money deducted out of their accounts, especially if they were given like certain type of home like type of loans and rent, what's the word I'm looking for? Rent type of payments. They're being deducted back from people's accounts because they have.
Look what happened to New York.
What happened to New York with that?
New York had $80 million in its bank account.
Hello,
and the government went in.
Info. They can do whatever they want.
And people are still saying, how did they get New York State's bank account, and how were they able to go into the account?
Let's talk about it. So that these 19 to 25-year-olds are hackers.
Yes.
They are hackers. They sit in the hacking computers. They hacked into everything. They're hacking into everybody's financial system. They're hacking into everything about you. They're hacking into it. They didn't have to do anything. Once he got control and access to the Treasury systems, he knows where every federal dollar is, and they have hacked into everybody's system.
It's not even hacking. It's not hacking because they have hacking.
I was going to say that. It's not
right access.
And the thing about it is, I think, a lot of people are just like, oh, it's just read access, right? It doesn't matter because if I'm able to read your information, I can sell off your information. So if I have it, I can sell it. And a lot of people aren't paying attention to the fact that this man has set himself up so that he's controlling our government, but making deals on behalf of himself so that he can infiltrate other governments and their financial system. What he's really doing is he's sitting here and he's like, okay, now I know that, you know, the government controls this amount of money going over to China. So I want that deal with China. So I'm going to make it easier for them to get a deal with China so that I can in turn have my bottom line raised because of the deals that I'm giving China. People are not paying attention to what he's doing. This has nothing to do with really, he doesn't really care what happens in America. Let me put it that way. He doesn't.
Exactly.
What he's trying to do, he's like, okay, I'm going to set myself up in China. I'm going to set myself up in India. I'm going to set myself up in African countries because I know that as long as I have control and this deal with China, this is going to help me in my bottom line. That is, he's very interested. And the reason why Trump is going along with him is because of the fact that not only does it help him as an individual, Elon, it helps Donald Trump and his family gain money too. So we just have to pay attention. He already said that Orange Man told you from the beginning. He told you this years ago. If I was ever to run as a politician, I would run under the GOP because I know that I can infiltrate the government easy because they do not pay attention to what we're actually doing. He said it. He said it to you. Everything this man is doing, he has said to you in your face. He has never lied. He has said every single thing. So what we need to do as individuals is make those phone calls. No, and like Ron said, this is what's scary to me. We can, as Democrats, as whatever, far left, whatever you want to call it, we can make all the rules in the world. Because everything flows up through the executive branch, a lot of the ways that we would need to enforce these laws, we have our hands tied. We did this to ourselves. And what people don't want to admit is that we did this to ourselves. We need to look inward and understand that we played ourselves and we gave these people the power to do whatever they want to do. So now it's about saying, okay, let's show them that they are not allowed to do this. Because in these other countries, what they do understand is, hey, there are 330 million of us and there are 15 of them. We have the power. We have the power. We do. It's not about them. We have the power. It's about us getting together and utilizing that power.
And you bring up a point about the rest of the world because Australia, when they saw what Elon did here in America, they passed a law immediately saying you cannot donate a certain amount of money to anyone's campaign.
$20,000 is the max amount that you can donate in an Australian election. $20,000.
That's it.
That's it. This man donated $240 million to our election. He brought us. He brought that man.
Yeah.
However, and he made, I do believe the number was $158 million back since the election.
Yeah, but here's he's losing it now, though. He's losing it.
So let's talk about it, though. Let's talk about what he paid out.
Well, Brian's in the building now, so we got to
finish this because I want to finish this money.
Go ahead.
Let's finish this money thing right here. You can bring Brian on after I say this.
You go ahead, Lee.
So he spent $270 million, right, in that election.
Yes, right.
He makes from the government. He makes $8 million a day. In 1 month, he makes $240 million. 2 months, he has now made $480 million.
And he just struck a deal for $400 million from our government. Yes.
And so we talk about $80 million. We're not even talking. We're not talking about the part that you talk about, his stocks and stuff. I'm talking about what he gets, guaranteed money, our money, every day, $8 million. 1 month, 30 days, he gets $240 million every 30 days. That's all I want to say. Now you bring Brian up in here, but we need to talk about that.
Thank you, Ali. And also, he just won that contract, $18 million. 400 million. Yes. But there was another one also, 18 million. So it was 18 million and 400 million.
It was $38.9 million because I paid attention to the numbers. So $38.9 million for the one contract. And then the $400 million for the cyber trust, but they changed it. They have now changed it so it says
they removed the line item. Yeah,
they changed the line item so it doesn't say Tesla anymore. but it's still
Yeah.
400 million.
There we go.
400 that $400 million to him. So
Thank you,
I just want to
scholars.
talk.
The
If we're gonna talk
scholars are
about the
in
money,
the
we're gonna talk about
building.
our money.
The scholars are in the building. What's going on, Brian? Welcome back, sir. It's so good to see your face on the screen. And welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you, sir, first of all?
Continually healing.
Good. Good
So
job.
that's I'm overdue for a call with Elise. She knows what was going on, why I've been kind of quiet on social media, but I'm making my way back.
Okay.
I hadn't planned on it, but to go along with what you guys are talking about with numbers and Elon, who I've consistently, before all this, I should make a t-shirt, stop buying bleeping Teslas. I know that may feel like a small thing, but I'm reminded of the civil rights movement where, like if you look at each part of the civil rights movement as like your finger, like say here's Martin Luther King and here's SNCC and like even Malcolm X. Like individually they may not do a lot of damage, but together, boom. So just stop buying bleeping Teslas. But what numbers, it's relative. $200 million to many of us, that's a lot of money. I went to art school. I don't know, I joke about I don't know math, but look at Elon's net worth and then break it down to how much $300, even $400 million is. What percentage of that is hurting? It's not. To us, those are big numbers, and they are, but it's relative. So that's to that point. But what was sticking in my what has been sticking in my craw, a couple of things. One, the collective amnesia of this country, especially those that voted for the tangerine tyrant. And I feel like, mofo, did you guys like sleepwalk through the 4 years of his previous presidency? So I'm not shocked. I'm not surprised at all the crap that has been happening. My encouragement, stay focused. Because if you read Project 2025 and the mandate for leadership portion, the effing playbook was right there. 180 days. So all the stuff we're seeing is there. And another thing that I've been sharing in personal circles, not socially as much, but another thing is the lack of imagination. What I mean by that is hold up, buddy. Xavier's got a half day, which I didn't know about until he's like, "Hey, Dad." I'm like, "Oh." The lack of imagination. What I mean by that is that the stuff that you think couldn't happen could happen. Like think about when many of you know I don't like using absolutes, but I would assume majority of us, when we saw that orange Oompa Loompa coming down those pea-colored escalators at his building, talking about he's going to run for president, like he'll never win. Guess what? He did. Oh, he'll never do it. Fill in the blank of what you thought he wouldn't do or couldn't be done. So the lack of imagination. Take yourself to, and this is my encouragement. Most of us are sane people. I assume many of us got skeletons in our closet that we don't want aired publicly, or that we may feel guilty about, or whatever, that we're trying to live righteously. So it's hard to go to what I would categorize as an insane place. That's where these cats thrive. So that's where I feel like we need to dip a toe in, because they're 2 steps ahead and we have to be 4 steps ahead. So if that means, yes, I just got Xavier's passport, which that was on my list. But my point is
for
that
every child, every person.
What's the guarantee that even that, even if, like, old school, like, put some money under your mattress, who's to say that they don't void paper currency and then freeze out our digital bank account? It may seem asinine and insane, but my encouragement, go to a place of,
you got to put a stash away,
logic across the board, because the plan, in my opinion, and I will pause, this goes to my opinion, my experience. I worked really hard to get Kamala elected. I still have her yard signs out in my yard because, and I'm not the only one. I noticed another house around the block, and when I drove by before the snow, I just did a honk and went, because during Biden's administration, a lot of these orange supporters still had their signs up. My point is that up until the election, I had a plan A and a plan B. My plan A, if she won, cool. Plan B, heaven forbid, if this, orange mofo won, it was like, okay, break the glass jar and break out the emergency plan and roll with it and enact it. And that's what I've been trying to do. So the lack of imagination and the lack of like the day after your election, I was shocked. I was,
before you go there though, Brian, because I want to make sure that we get ready to get time. But what you're saying is absolutely true. The lack of imagination, we got to have that kind of mindset. You have nailed it on it. And I will say, like Elise has been saying, we need to read those. We need to read those books. We need to get in those books because that's going to help our imagination. I have that. That is my book that I'm starting. As a matter of fact, it is one of the books I'm putting on my tablet. So when I'm in a hospital, I will begin to read the books of Mrs. Butler's, because it is. And I've been looking at a lot of reports and kind of like people just sharing about Butler's book, and they were saying, God, they even call her now a prophet, because so many of the things that were in her book that were unimaginative are happening. So yes, go ahead, Chris.
One last thing, we've been talking about documents you need to walk with. This is something that
Jazzy and Brian go.
This is something that Ronald and I have been talking about moving forward. We're going to start walking with, I know I'm going to start walking with my marriage license, because, the government has already taken out the T out of LGBTQIA+.
Yes.
And he's going to come after us next. And they're going to try to revoke and rescind the Marriage Act. And, that's something that's very important to me, as far as medical decisions and that type of stuff. And who's to know, as we're traveling, because we travel throughout the United States, who's to say that I'm not going to get stopped for, I need to see proof of this and that. And, who are you married to? Are you gay, or are you trans? That type of stuff. So walk with your papers, all your papers. Keep it, and also keep it digitally. I've always had my marriage license in a digital form on my phone.
Yes. Keep your papers. Keep, because again, we're so used to the honorable, as much as we can say honorable, but the code of honor, that if we had our passports, that's going to help us. But I think we're living the time where people, let's say we need our passports, and these mofos, as like Brian likes to say, these folks will take that passport, rip it up, and you just don't have nothing at all.
Yep.
There's no code of ethics. There's no honor. So we are going to have to have our information in multiple places. We're going to have it digitally, on paper, physically. So
and a backup that someone else
and
has
backups in the cloud, put it in the vault. You got to do we're going to have to think in layers.
because we're back in. I mean, people keep. I've said this before. People say, "Oh, they're trying to take us back to pre-civil rights." No, they're trying to take you back to pre-civil war.
See, pre-Civil War.
When we had to have our freedom papers was when they tore up your freedom papers.
Yes.
And re-enslaved you, or enslaved you if you were not a slave, right?
Yes.
That's where they want to take us, right? That's where they're taking us. And by the way, Tennessee has already had put that marriage thing on their books, because
yes, they have.
You want to watch a state that's crazy and out of control. Tennessee, and they included the possibility of interracial marriages on there as well. That's on their document. So those states like Tennessee, Texas, and Florida, those are the pilot states.
Yeah, that's right. They've been the test. They've been the test. The what they call petri dishes.
Right. They're the ones where they test all of that stuff. That's what they're doing there. And so, just paying attention to it. And the fact that I just read this morning where Utah is trying to pass this thing where you can fly the Nazi flag and the Confederate flag, but not the pride flag. And so we have to think about all of those things. And my daughter was sitting, she said, how she has empathy and compassion for all groups. She said, because a lot of these things that are happening may not necessarily impact her personally right now. She said, but it's impacting people. She said, I look at it from that perspective. So you look at all of those states and what's going to happen. I told my husband, I said, now in DC, the biggest supporter of Booz Allen is the biggest supporter of Pride Day here. Of course, they pulled out of it because it's not. They're not pulling out because they don't believe it. They're pulling out because they don't want the repercussion from the federal government, right? As Jazzy was saying. But I told my husband, I said, as parents of someone in that community, if they call for us to hit the streets, you in the streets with me, honey. I said, you're gonna be out. Yes. You want to walk them 6 miles? You're going to walk 6 miles for your son.
This year is World Pride in DC. Don't be surprised if they try to cancel that or say that it's illegal to have World Pride in DC this year.
And especially, because we walk down Pennsylvania Avenue and everything. But I am, as a parent and as an ally of the community, if they whatever protest they have for that community, I'm gonna be in the streets. I may not follow all these other people in the street, but I'm going to follow my baby in the streets. You hear what I'm saying? I'm going to be out there for the Chris and the Rons and the two Chris's, because my son's name is Chris. I'm going to be out there because we have to understand that no matter who you are, that poem that Brian loves to talk about is, if you don't fight for everyone else, at the end of the day, there's going to be no one to fight for you. And that's the reality of white people.
There you go.
That's the reality specifically of white poor people. And that's what they're finding out now. You're finding those things out. The white farmers who sit on there, I voted for this man, but but you did it. You can't undo it. I told y'all from the beginning, there's no redo, there's no makeup test.
Can't redo it. Can't undo it.
It's done. But I think that what we need to do is figure out how we are moving forward and what's going to be our plan of attack. Because we can name the men, but you have to understand behind those men were a bunch of women and a bunch of people from the LGBT community who did not get the recognition they deserve for those historical events that were back there doing a lot of the work. And we have to make sure that we're out there in the forefront with everybody else and getting this work done. It's time for us to, it's wonderful to talk on a platform, but what are we going to do? Like I said, I would look up to all of the women Republicans in the Senate. I'm going to sit here today and I'm going to call them. I called Susan Collins yesterday. I'm going to call the rest of them today, because we have to let them know that Elon Musk is not the only one that can impact them.
Yes, right.
The state of Florida, that Proud Boy leader, is looking at running for that first congressional district that came out in the news last night. Who do we know in Florida? Dr. Tachi and anybody else that claim they get down there, get out there and deal with that. It's time for people to actually say, who do you know? How can they get the message out? What can they do to support stuff? That's where we are now. We're at that crossroads. We can't sit, and as Jazzy said, we can't sit and say, oh, woe is me, because these 5-10 people, that 1% is up there, and we all are 99%.
Yes.
We are the power. We have power. We have financial power. Black people spend $1.7 to $1.8 billion every year. We have power.
We have power.
Mhm.
Also, since we have power, you have the power to raise your hand and hit the likes if you enjoy this. If you enjoy this moment with us
Oh,
again
Lord, yes.
today.
Come on,
I
Cindy.
remember to do it.
If you enjoyed the moment today, if you enjoyed what we gave you this day, because this was a lot of content, I know it was a lot of information, and but we gave you 3 major things. Look at what's going on with these. Everything is connected to Elon Musk. You need to know that. Follow the money. Always follow the money. And also, again, make sure you hit the likes. Make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you share this. And share this with your friends. If you think this is a beneficial platform, share it with your friends. We're just laymen here, but we also do our homework. As you can see, there's lots of people in this platform that do their homework, right, Gwendolyn?
I always do my homework. Yes.
I know you do. That's why I saw that face. I was like, I got.
Can I add one thing?
Yes, dear.
Because I was chatting with my dear friend Aisla about gender affirming care. And I know that society says that gender affirming care is typically used by trans people and those who are non-binary, but forget that also includes HRT and cosmetic surgery, which are used by a lot of people who are not trans. The way we treat the most vulnerable in our community, our society, says a great deal about us. And clearly right now that bullseye is on the back of those who are trans, right? So beyond having these conversations and beyond getting uncomfortable, as I say, there has to be no safe harbor for hate. Now, I have a dear friend this morning, like I said, I chose violence. She wants to have a private conversation. It will not be private, okay? Talk to your friends. We get in our family chat and we have conversations about what's happening and what we're going to do as a family. We have to start having these intimate conversations. Call your family and friends out for the bullshit. This is where we are. If you want to see this change, you're going to have to get, again, uncomfortable and start putting it in people's faces. I am not allowing you to be racist, a misogynist, show your bigotry. We are not doing it. And there's more of us who feel that way. But when you are silent, that shows agreement. If you see something horrible happening on the street, you may need to put your life on the line because someone has to say something. This is where we are. It's a crossroads. It's going to get uglier, but it's like being an enabler. It has to hurt for a little bit. It's going to be a 5-alarm fire. Plain and simple. It's going to get worse. And
if
until
the people don't
pick up a bucket of water and put it out, it's going to burn.
And if the people don't don't step up, there won't be a country in 2 years to vote. I mean, you see what's going on. 2 years. Shoot, we may not have another country. We may not have a country if people don't stand
by
up.
summertime.
By summertime.
And you know, the part that, because there are a couple of things going on, right? So the big part was not missing what JD Vance said about the judicial system.
Oh, that's another one. Yeah.
We can't miss that they actually do have the right to defend the Constitution.
Yes.
So not to miss that. And it has not only been Democratic justices who have held them accountable in the last year. They have also been Republican appointed as well. And they now want to bring one of them up on it for impeachment, which is interesting.
Yes.
But because they didn't like something. So pay attention to that part. It's like the things that they're saying out loud like that. Because that's where we're looking at. And then also in April, there are going to be those congressional seats that are April 1st. There are going to be those special elections.
Crucial.
They talk about the congressional seats, but there are also 2 Senate seats.
Yes.
One in Ohio and one in Florida. So they're not just House seats, they're they're Senate seats that are also up for election. I believe they also should be taking place sometime in April. I know they've given April the 1st for the ones that are the 2 congressional districts in Florida. The third one is going to be in New York for
what's her name? Yeah, that's out in New York State.
Yeah, for her. She's trying
the crazy one. But again, this is why Democrats and independents who are for justice, democracy, they need to be going door to door right now, not waiting until November, not waiting until the summertime. They need to be working on this now, going from door to door of all of the redneck folks out there and all the folks that are backwards or whatever you want to call them that don't get the truth because they live in a bubble. They need to be going door to door. Don't go to the people that are already your fans. Go to the people, go in the den of the wolves Just go in and tell them about what democracy is about and what they're missing. So
yeah, and that's
on that
exactly
note, I
the
have to let you
challenge
go
that
because Chris
Bernie
is
Sanders
overtime.
has for the Democrats. Bernie
Yes.
Sanders has gone to Iowa and Wisconsin. He's challenging the Democrats to get out of Washington and go to these red states. Go to these red
Go
states.
to the red states. Go
He's
to the red
challenging them
states.
right now.
Yes, it's no need to be comfortable with the blue. And get off. I hate when someone tells me, you know, they take the easy rate to make me their client or whatever. No, talk to me. Call me up. See how I'm doing. If you want me to be a client of yours, woo me a little bit. We need to be wooing and sharing and educating the people that are not educated, because there are some people out there that are pissed off right now because they didn't sign up, and they're feeling it. They got the FAFO going on right now in their lives. They effed around and now they're feeling it, and now they scared and they don't know what to do about it. This is when the Democrats and the independents and anyone that believes in democracy need to go into those houses, into those camps, and tell them, okay, you're not getting that money from that farm from the farm grant. You're not getting that money from the USAID because now that's gone, and now you're not getting your profits this year. Hello, you need to change your vote. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me. This was wonderful. Great conversation. And man, we could talk all day. There's so much going on. So much going on. But stay in tune, guys. And I will always stick with that. I love stay woke. I ain't gonna ever leave that.
Stay woke.
Stay woke.
Don't start me. I'll be out here singing like
Right?
Stay woke.
Stay woke.
And if anybody come to you telling you they didn't vote and they got a complaint, you let them have it with everything you got in your body.
That's right. Let the veins pop out of your neck as you talk.
Look, let the heat come out.
Heat.
Burn them all.
Yes. Okay,
Set them
guys.
ablaze.
There will be no Touch Base Daily on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I might pop on here some time to time because I will be recovering. So my surgery is for those that need to, those that are the praying folks in the building. I could use your prayers. My surgery is Monday morning. So that happens Monday morning, early Monday morning. And I will be in the hospital for a couple of days. And so if you are a prayerful person, pray for the brother, because I believe in the power of prayer.
Absolutely.
And also reach out if you can. I should be able to have my phone and tablet with me, so I'll have that with me. And because I want to read my books, I want to also listen. I want to keep informed. I will still be engaged, but I just won't be online as scheduled.
I know, right?
I have to tell you.
Let's wrap it up.
Look, Chris, I have to tell you all this when he's talking about that. So when my husband had his last surgery, he had to have gallbladder surgery. That, you know, he walks 6 miles a day. Ron just made me think of how this man was looking at his step thing and said, it messed up my green bars. He'll still go back to those green bars. Ron, don't worry.
I got bar. I got the circle now, so I got a circle. I got my circles now. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining us. Keep make sure you hit the likes, make sure you hit the subscribe, pass on the information, get these information to your friends. Also, you can have them share, what we do here. And you can just send them this link of what we talked about today, because this is great for our families. Everyone should know our family and our neighbors. Okay. And I love you all. And I'll see you when I see you sometime next week. Maybe Thursday, maybe Friday. Anyway, I'll see you later. Take care, guys. Thank you, Chris, for being here. Thank you for staying overtime, Chris. I know you had something to do earlier. And also, Gwendolyn, thank you so much for being here and staying overtime. And also, Elise, thank you for staying here overtime. But I know Elise and I will be talking all day long. So I am out of here. Guys, I love you. I don't want to leave you, but I got to go. Later. Hello, and thank you for joining us today. Make sure you hit the like, the subscribe, and leave a comment on this video. I would love to hear from you. Thank you again. Until I see you next time.